This is ridiculous. I feel like giving up. I'm fighting aphids like I've never fought them before. Mole crickets ate some of my peanuts as they were coming up, and they're still there. I see their trails. I have to come out every morning and check for slugs. Look what they've done to my sweet potatoes. And my field pea experiment, I've been looking for the ants. I can't figure out where they're coming from. Asian beans that are usually so prolific, I don't know what to do with them all. Look at these poor things. I don't even know if I'm going to get beans this year. And you know all those beautiful mustard plants that came up? This is all that survived. I feel like giving up, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to give you 7 things that you can do when you feel like giving up, when things like this happen to you.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
The first thing is, look at what has been doing well. This is my first year that I'm growing food right through the middle of summer. Well, of course, it's a big experiment. There's going to be things that don't work. So look on the positive side. Look for things that you can be happy about. Yes, my peanuts have gaps in them, but I still have enough that I'm going to have some harvest. And look at my peas. They're coming along pretty well in spite of all the heat. And it's been 100, 101, 102 degrees, and we're getting rain every day. So if I get some peas out of this, I'm going to be happy. And here's a funny story. My banana trees were so scrawny, I said, forget it, and I cut them down. And 2 more came back in their place. Look how beautiful they are. And they're also making pups. But what I did do is think, okay, now I'm going to try even harder. So I've been fertilizing with weed water and a few kitchen scraps. Apparently they like it. And look at my corn experiment. I'm learning a lot. Look at the difference. Not so good. It's coming along. Am I going to get some field corn this year? It's my first time trying. Looks like I might. So what I'm trying to say is, look for the things that are doing well and focus on that. And the next thing to do is learn from what didn't do well. It could be some mistakes you made. Those mustard plants, well, I let them dry out, but I also think they're just not going to grow in the heat. It's been 101 degrees here in the daytime, and then they get pelted with heavy thunderstorms. One of the biggest things I can advise you to do, keep a garden journal. The first year I grew sweet potatoes, I just started 2 or 3 slips in the ground, and I ended up with over 100 pounds of sweet potatoes. So last year, I planted twice as many and got half as much. So I looked through my garden journal, what was different. So what was different? Wood mulch. Last year I didn't have any. This year I do. Is it going to make a difference? Well, I don't know. I've got 3 different experiments going on here. I'm treating each bed differently so that I can tell in the future which is the best way to grow sweet potatoes. You see, it's all a big experiment, but you've got to keep track of what's going on. Every year I journal. So I enter notes in my general garden notes over the whole season, and then I go to the individual pages where the individual vegetables are listed, and I keep track. I date it, and then I say what I did at that date. So we'll see which is the best. So be sure you like and subscribe and put on that bell notification so you can find out too and learn with me. Another thing you can do is research. You see these papaya trees and my revived banana trees? Research tells me they need a lot of water, a lot of fertilizer. So I ramped it up. The papaya trees get it naturally because I have compost dirt right underneath them. The banana trees needed some help. So I've given them help with worm castings, compost, and kitchen scraps. Seems to be working. So do your research. It's okay. Go online, Google it. When you do your research, watch my fellow YouTubers. But be careful of those who make you believe that everything's wonderful in their garden. If I showed you that, I'd be lying. There are things that work and things that don't work in every garden. So when you do your research, be sure that you're looking at maybe the closest university to you and glean from them. Not everything that I tell you is going to work for you where you live, unless you live in Central Florida and you're following along with me. Subscribe, give it a thumbs up. You know, when you do that, it really helps the algorithms recognize my channel and it helps me grow. I really appreciate it. Another thing you can do is be willing to experiment. This is the first year that I'm growing these cowpeas. I have no idea what their real name is. I think it's speckled peas. I gleaned them from somewhere, and by golly, they're growing, and they're growing well. But there's some things that I know to do differently the next time. I can't grow them this thickly next time. I'll have to grow them in a long row, and I'll have to support them better so that the stink bugs won't sting the peas right through the netting here. And you know what the drawback to this netting is? The ants are farming the aphids, and now the ladybugs can't get in either. So I'm having to spray the aphids with soap. And I'm still trying to find out where the ant beds are. I've destroyed some of the beds, but apparently there's still some surviving. Look how lush they are. So I know they're going to grow well for me next summer. But next summer, I'm going to grow them in a row. I'm not going to crowd them this close. And maybe I'll get more peas. They haven't been giving me a lot of peas, but they sure have grown a lush vine. So I know to adjust the supplements that I'm going to put down before I plant the seeds next year. So that's what research and experimentation has taught me. A long time ago, I saw some dried up plums on the ground at a local park. And I know you're not supposed to take things out of the park, but they ended up mowing those trees down anyway. So I'm glad I took the seeds, because now I have a couple of plum trees. And this is the first year in about 6 or 7 years that I'm actually going to get some plums. Most of them fell off at the early stage, but I've got a few. So be willing to experiment. It brings you a lot of joy when it does work out. You know, when I first started gardening, there was no problem with root knot nematodes. I haven't had a problem with it until just the last few years. Same thing with stink bugs. I never had stink bugs getting into my tomatoes. Didn't have to worry about covering them up. But that was 20, 25 years ago. So what's happened in the meantime? I just think this world is in a state of flux. I don't know where those pests and diseases come from. Maybe they were there all the time and they just weren't built up to be a problem. When I'm discouraged or puzzled about something that's going on in my garden, I pray and I ask God to show me what's going on. I say, how do you see this, Lord? And then I wait and I observe. We're supposed to consider the things that are growing and appreciate what God has given us. Don't dwell on the things that didn't work out. Learn from those things that didn't work out. Keep a positive attitude by looking for what really is doing well. Learn from your mistakes. Keep a garden journal. Do your research. Be willing to experiment. Be willing to accept that you are going to be challenged with disease, pests, bad weather. It all just comes with gardening. Quite frankly, comes with life in general. It's okay. You'll be okay. Be grateful and ask God to help you see what's going on. I appreciate your time. I hope this video has helped you to keep on gardening.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.